Hey, welcome to Graphic Policy Television GPTV. I'm Brett. In my hands is Maniac of New York. Bronx is Burning, #1, the second volume of the series following Maniac Harry. Written by Elliott, Kalan. Andrea Mutti is the colorist and artist, and Taylor Esposito is the letterer. Alright, so the concept of the series is, what if slashers from kind of horror films existed in the real world, bringing the slasher genre to comics. In this case, we have Maniac Harry, who is a serial killer in New York. It follows two cops who were kind of on the Harry beat, attempting to stop him. Spoiler, in the first volume, there's a big massacre on a train. The cops are blamed. They take the blame for the mayor's screw-ups when it comes to this. Harry gets away. We think he's dead, but he's not. Exactly what you kind of expect with a slasher film. The big bad comes back. So the question is what are you going to do for a sequel? What tropes are you going to play with? How are you going to hit up some of the things that are known in the genre? And I think this debut does some of them really, really well. So it picks up on at the aftermath. We have the two cops who are generally hated by the public for what happened on the train in the first volume. And Harry is still out there. They're on Harry duty, running around, taking calls from people. There's people out, robbing with Harry masks, and all kinds of stuff like that is happening. But Harry is still out there, and he does do what he does best, which is go on a killing spree. So this one is actually kind of interesting in that the first issue, or first volume, had him kind of in a couple locations. We saw a killing kind of over time. It seems like this might be isolated more towards either a very compacted time period or keep it on a much fewer locations. In this case, Harry goes after a private school. It seems like a charter school. And what's really interesting is the comic, he has a little commentary going on about the school, which I think is interesting, and there's some humor about it. As Harry's going around to go kill, we have the principal having to call his bosses. Doesn't call the police, calls his bosses. It feels like there's a little bit of social commentary going on. I've kind of going in my head as to exactly what it's trying to say, but I can see a whole bunch of interpretations. How you want to read it. Overall, I think it's really interesting, and it's kind of hard not to think about school shootings and how schools react and how people react, and there's a lot of horror that does amazing social commentary, and I think it'll be kind of fascinating to see if the series dives into that a little bit more. It's danced around it here and there, but it hasn't really made it like worn it on its sleeve. Here it seems to be rolling down the sleeve a little bit so you can get a better look at it. And I think it's kind of interesting. Like, I really want to see where it all goes. I'm not the biggest horror fan. I'm slasher films is not generally my thing. I think when it comes to sequels, I've got the Scream series, I've got Nightmare on Elm Street, and that's about it. I was never a huge Friday the 13th, though I saw the original first one. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, stuff like that. Like, it was just not Halloween, not necessarily my thing I'd watch. So, when it comes to slasher, like, my knowledge is very limited, but I'm really interested to see what this pulls off as far as what I can recognize as tropes and things that you'd expect to see in that genre. The art, I think, continues to be fantastic. I really like the style, and I think it works. It really, really works. There's also some good commentary about, like, no one goes into the Bronx, basically, unless you're going to a sporting event. I'm not a New Yorker, but even I kind of laughed about that a little bit, and I think there's some commentary when it comes to that, at least some thoughts. So overall, like, this is a good debut. Like, I'm really interested in seeing where it all goes and where the story, how the story wraps up. I'm expecting further volumes. I mean, slasher genre was all about multiple sequels, and I'm really hoping we get multiple sequels. So if you enjoyed the first volume, I think you're going to enjoy the start of the second. and I'm really excited to see more about this. So I recommend it. Like, as someone who's not a fan of the slasher genre, I actually recommend it. It's out in comic shops now. You can go get it. We got a link beneath this video. Put in your zip code. Tell the comic shops near you. No shop, no problem. We do have some links where you can make your own purchase. There'll be affiliate links, so we get a small percentage by doing that. You help support our site, so thank you. And speaking of support, I want to thank AfterShock for hooking us up with a review copy. And of course, thank you all for watching. If you are into comics, if you are into AfterShock, check us out every single day at graphicpolicy.com. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr, Instagram, all at Graphic Policy, keeping it nice and consistent. So until next time, keep reading those comics and keep it geeky. Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.